like there's no winning, honestly, but that is really how our minds can often go. So welcome, Diana Pagano, the author of The More Mindset. You're going to teach us how to get out of these spirals that we often have.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, because we really need this. Why did you want to create this book? Was it off of your personal experience with spiraling?
Yes, absolutely. So I grew up in a very unstable environment. It was a family of 6, grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, first generation Mexican American, and my parents were struggling entrepreneurs. And so I only know what I grew up with is that life had to be hard. And I started to notice the patterns in my late 20s, later became a single mom, pursued real estate, and I was doing it all wrong. And I said to myself, what is going on? There has to be something better than just living life in pure survival mode. And so I enthralled myself in, God's grace and scriptures and books about the mind, and I became so obsessed about this. And I said, wow, who else is struggling out there like myself? And it didn't happen overnight, but I was in that self-discovery. And I think that that's what drives me, is when I think about my mom or my dad, and I say, it's not the action, because they were taking the action, but it's not about that. It's about the belief that really supports that. And so that's what drove me, is to help others really break those limitations that exist, but you don't have to. They don't have to all exist. Life happens, but there's tools and strategies and ways that you can go ahead and have more, whether it's more peace, more purpose, more abundance of any kind. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, you definitely were not alone. What does a spiral look like for you or for other people who may not even realize that they're spiraling? I gave my example, but there are so many different ways we can spiral in our minds.
Absolutely. The majority of our thoughts, are unconscious. I think it's understanding, and that's one of the things I talk about, really foundational, to understand how our brains work. Every single person, the biggest success, anyone successful in lives that people have seen, we're all having these thought patterns. And we're so wired, Chelsea, to think and look at what can go wrong. Oof. And I think that that's the biggest kicker. When you understand that, hey, these thoughts are going to come, you're not going to avoid thoughts that come your mind, like, what if I don't do it the right way? What if I'm not ready yet? What if I didn't do it last year, so this year I'm not going to succeed? It's all the stories you tell yourself in your mind. And you have the power more than you think. And that's what I learned, even with my own self-sabotage, limiting beliefs, that life had to be hard. And so you don't often get what you want. But let me tell you, Chelsea, you always get what you believe. Ooh. And so it goes to the root of belief that will dictate the action or the lack of action that you don't take.
Wow. Okay, so we got to dig deep to correct this. Okay, yes. All right. Well, I'm just about ready. Explain this to me. You say there are 2 different types of spirals. What are those?
Absolutely. So it's the inner dialogue, the stories that you keep telling yourself, because that's the belief. And oftentimes we get it inherited beliefs. My mom taught me, with God all things are possible. In the same breath, she believed wholeheartedly that money was the root of all evil. And sometimes we carry these fundamental beliefs that sometimes we don't even know where they come from, but that impacts how we show up. So it's inherited beliefs, whether you were a kid, maybe in college, and we continue to cultivate beliefs based on what we're told, based on whatever, it's in your environment. And I would say that the second thing is just what results you've actually seen. So if you have had actual results, that's your proof. It's a vicious cycle, because you take the action based on what you believe. So you take the action, but how much action are you really going to take when you believe that you're not good enough or that you're not ready yet? You're going to take some action, but the level of intention that you bring to the table for your actions isn't going to be at your best. Wow. And so then you see results that follow, and then that alone continues to build your belief, because then you're like, see, the action I took gave me this result, that means it didn't work. And now it just limits you even more.
You just keep going in that spiral. That's why we call it a spiral. My goodness. Okay, well, we got to get some tips on how to get out of this. We're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. Get your pens ready, and we'll be right back after this. Is spiraling stopping you from becoming the best version of yourself? Well, we're going to figure out how to stop that spiraling. Diana Pagano, you've written this book, The More Mindset. You've got strategies in there on how we can stop this, because this mindset, that'll keep you from doing what you really want to be doing. Yes. And it'll just keep reinforcing itself if you're not achieving results you want. Okay, 100%. So what is your first tip on how to stop spiraling?
So the first thing I would say is that when a thought's coming your way, when you're feeling a certain way, it's more so, is this a fact? or is this an assumption I'm making or a belief that I have? So that's the first thing, because you notice, and I think it's just it's either two things. It's either serving you, it's either moving you forward, or it's holding you back. So if the thought is, well, what if I didn't do it right? What if they laugh at me? What if I don't have enough money? What if I don't get the business loan? You know the answer to that. Does that move you forward? But it's true. I haven't gotten the business loan.
Yeah.
Forget about what reality is today. In order for you to break that and shift that, is you have to challenge it and ask yourself, is this a fact or is this an assumption I'm making based on a previous belief?
Okay, so just like in the video we watched earlier, like she's doing one thing, but she's thinking about like, oh, how I could be so much better at this. And oftentimes, it looks like, or it sounds in our heads like, oh, I'm not doing enough and I will never get to this point in life.
100%. And that's why the action, people are just, it's like a hamster in a wheel. But I'm taking action, I'm doing the thing. But if you're doing the thing and thinking differently, there's a block. So oftentimes it's not that the action isn't working, it's that you are omitting this level of energy. And there's quantum physics, it's a fact, right? This isn't woo-woo, it's a reality backed by science and how it affects your brains from a neuroplasticity perspective. And that affects the action and how we do the action that we do.
Okay, so for the people out there who say, okay, well, you know, affirmations and things like that, they don't do anything. You're saying like there's science that says that this can have an effect.
Absolutely
on your
has
outcome.
an effect. Thoughts, beliefs, the language have consequences. Because when you think about it, if you're saying, you know, today is going to be an amazing day. Today I'm going to be better than yesterday. Today I'm going to bring more energy. I didn't have energy yesterday. This year will be better than next year. That increases your dopamine level, serotonin. It changes you, right? And so when your reticular activating system that lives in the bottom back of your brain, that's now like antennas going up based on the language you're saying. It doesn't know the difference. It's unconscious. And now you're going to start noticing things, people, solutions, resources that you won't believe because you're blocking yourself from what can come in.
Okay. Okay, so we got to wake up that reticular activating back here, all the way back here.
All the way back here.
Wake it up. All right, with some good affirmations and things like that we can tell ourselves.
And you know, when you think about positive thinking, it's not just positive thinking. It's the more you repeat it, the more you do. It's where you're spending your time.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
What's another way that we can stop the spiraling, especially when those thoughts pop up?
Absolutely. So when you interrupt it, it's what are you focusing your attention on? It's almost, I almost have this metaphor of like a rescue inhaler, right? My son has asthma. So when you're having a bad thought, everybody has it. Doesn't matter who they are. Highest achievers have thoughts that don't serve them. The difference is you don't stay there. That's where it becomes crippling. Don't feel bad if you're having a belief that you're not good enough. Just don't stay there. What could you replace it with? And I talk about a whole chapter dedicated to this, is changing the channel. Imagine you're watching a show, Chelsea, that is making you feel anxious.
Not this show.
Not this show. Not this show. Definitely not this show. This is a show that you change it and you become alive. You start smiling. You feel good. That is literally how your brain works. Where you focus your attention. It's not that bad things aren't going to happen. Sometimes life happens. It's about taking control, changing the channel. And the sooner you do that, the more solutions will start appearing for yourself.
I love that visual. Change the channel. That is actually really helpful. So you have spotted the lie or really tried to refocus on the truth of the situation.
Right.
And you got to change that mind, switch to something else. Don't stay there. What's something else that we can do as well in these situations?
Absolutely. One of the things I do all the time, and I coach people to do this, is that the way you center yourself, and that's the best way when you're in a spiral, you take a moment to just breathe. I know you could be at a stoplight, Chelsea. You can be in between meetings. Just focus on just taking a deep breath. It actually calms your stress hormones, and it centers you. It brings you back, right? And I think the more you center yourself, the more you become aligned, having that alignment with what comes next for you, right?
It sounds so simple, but it is so effective as well. Because I think about in that same video, in the different situations, like we're not being present when we are with our kids thinking about work, or if we're at work thinking about, you know, how we should show up better in our relationships.
Yes.
So just taking that breath can bring you back.
Can bring you back. And even earlier when you mentioned, challenge the thought, is this a fact or it's not? But let me tell you, if it is a fact, could it be different? No, everyone that did this had the same. Did anybody? 1%? Even when I got this, you know what my agent told me when I got picked up by a publisher, Wiley?
Yeah.
She said it only takes one acquisition editor to believe in your book. Just one. And I said, I'm not going to focus on all the hundreds that she's pitching it to. I'm going to focus on that one. And if there's a 5% chance, if it was 100, it doesn't matter. And I think anyone dealing with something hard that maybe is a fact that it is this is the cards I was given. But you can always choose gratitude. You can always choose a different thing that's going to make you feel good. And that's where you start seeing and uncovering more of what you were meant to become when you start thinking differently. It's not about doing more, it's about thinking differently to have more.
Oof, I love that. Girl, you have set us up for a fantastic 2026. Where can people find The More Mindset?
You can go to themoremindset.com and check it out there. That's also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you buy your books. The More Mindset by Diana Pagano.
Well, thank you so much, Diana, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for watching this episode of Chattin with Chelsea, and thank you to our lovely guests for getting our inner thoughts and our schedules in line. You guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chattin with Chelsea. Keep up with us on social at Chelsea Show Fox. Wardrobe provided by Trezor Cachet Boutique, and we'll see you on the next Chattin with Chelsea.